Here we go. So let's kick off a little bit. For those of you maybe have not heard about the TRI Matrix dental implant system, let's talk a little bit about that. And there we go. So TRI is actually not a new implant system. We're in 49 countries. The company's been around 12 years. We're based out of Zurich, Switzerland. And the TRI Matrix implant is the only FDA-approved no-abutment implant system, has now been out for 5 years. This is year three for us in the United States. We pride ourselves in being one of the fastest growing implant companies in the US today. We have an extensive sales team. We have clinical doctors on staff, and everything we do is digital. So everything we know the world is certainly becoming more and more digital every day, and that is the world we operate in. Is the digital ecosystem from start to finish, from surgical to the restorative end. We also believe this is one of the most simplistic workflows in implant dentistry today, is because we're avoiding certainly some of the complications that come with abutments, that reduces parts confusion, and certainly the prosthetic phase of the business. And certainly the quality of being a Swiss driven manufacturer company is at the highest quality of products for patients today. So what we're doing differently here is, as I mentioned, we're eliminating abutments from tie base restorations for single units all the way to certainly multi-unit abutments, where we are direct printing or milling right to the implant interface. We believe certainly for single unit restorations, this is aesthetically more pleasing because we're eliminating titanium bases. We're eliminating that sometimes potential titanium gleam through that comes through the restorations. We're providing more surface area in the restorations, and you get to work with this magnificent 2.8 bolt screw with most of the restorations. That's fantastic. That is roughly double the thickness of the prosthetic screw you work with any other implant system. We believe we can reduce surgical and restorative steps by eliminating abutments, and certainly cost plays into this as well on the restorative phase, which we know implant dentistry is not getting less expensive, it's getting more expensive. And Dr. Saeed, you just actually mentioned that to me, earlier today, that this is certainly advantaged by sharpening our pencils. As I believe for profit, we are all for profit dental implant centers, not non-for-profit. So if we can reduce some of the component cost with also offering the highest quality restorations, I think that's a win for us. I'm going to show you just quickly. A next slide is an animation video so that we can see a little bit of how the interface of this 20-degree beveled conical connection implant works. This is not a tri-lobe connection, so kind of flashback 20 years ago from the Noble Biocare phase and implant direct phase. A tri-lobe connection we know causes crestal bone loss to the first thread. We know by the zip bridge study out there that micro movement on the abutment to connection of the implant causes bone loss to the first thread. So this actually is a zero bone loss concept implant because, number one, there is no abutment. Number two, you're working with a conical connection implant. And this indexing, as you see here, is simply for a timing aspect and for index of the prosthetic that simply sits on a ledge, and the stress load is not put on the restoration. And I'll show you how this works here quickly from an animation standpoint. So what we're doing again is reverse engineering the direct interface. And this little notch here, as you see it here, is a seating mechanism and is indexed based on the design. And we simply insert a screw right and drop your prosthetic right to the implant interface. You'll see the next slide here of how the stress forces are actually put on the screw, not on the restoration. And we have studies that show this is stronger than abutment level restorations. We know working with abutments, obviously, they serve, I believe, two main purposes. Yes, there's more, but the two main purposes is for mechanical load, so our single units and our arches don't break. And number two, they correct our implant angulations for obviously superior prosthetic outcomes. And we know certainly that mills today can mill crazy divergences, and I'll show you a slide on that in a second. But we know that with a angulated screw and a straight screw, and the angulated screw correcting our angulation up to 30 degrees, we're not going to have screw access holes come out the facial, which is really important, obviously, for aesthetics. The next couple, just slide here, I'm going to quickly touch on, and Dr. Saeed will be talking about a scan and a smile in an hour case, which we believe this is our single unit workflow for single units in the aesthetic zone. We know if we were to place an implant on tooth number 7 today, we know that a patient can leave with your office with a flipper, maybe an Essex retainer, or even a temporary abutment that we're flowing Lux attempt to. And then we're certainly screw retaining that out of occlusion. But we have this fantastic solution here, which what I call is option 4, which is our scan and smile in 1 hour, which Dr. Saeed will be presenting on. Key to note too, if you didn't want to use that workflow, which I believe is superior, you can still do the same workflow with flippers and Essex Tempits and actually a temporary abutment on our implant system as well. So there's lots of ways to get to home base for a patient to leave with a single unit restoration. I will show you quickly a slide on single unit digital healing collar library, which is for your posterior restorations. And then we have some nice just features with the implant. If you didn't have photogrammetry in part of your office, digital workflow for full arches, we offer the Scan Bridge, which is an alternative to photogrammetry. Dr. Saeed, I think early on, you did do a Scan Bridge case, I believe, in your practice for a full arch. I know, however, you're a big component of photogrammetry, and we have that opportunity with you on those cases we've done. But just for those of you have not invested in photogrammetry, don't worry. You can still get a passive fit, and we can take care of you with those solutions. We have a tooth in the box and arch in the box strategy as well. We're the only implant company in the market today that's full root to tooth, meaning we sell you implants and we sell you finished and unfinished prosthetics at the industry best price from single unit restorations and full arches. We won't be covering that today on today's webinar, but certainly reach out to our local sales team. We can certainly educate you further on that. We are integrated vertical design team with a couple partners. Dr. Saeed and Wolf of Arches is certainly one of those partners, and I know you'll talk about that as well, my friend. And for Hugo connecting here, you're the man, and I know you're listening in as well. And certainly for those of you like Dr. Saeed that have a mill and an in-office mill, we vertically integrate your mills. We did that for you, Dr. Saeed, as you know, and you can mill the reverse engineer our interface for your prosthetics. So our Swiss team and our clinical team went into your location and we did that seamlessly for you. And I know you've been happy with that. So we have you covered. Everything's open system here for you. So this is quickly I'll touch on is our digital healing collar library. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Dr. Saeed, for the case presentation. But for those of you that work with posterior single units, you know that you put a metal healing abutment on most cases. I still think that's I think we've graduated a little bit. I think in implantology over at least myself 2 decades now. I think we can give a little better product for our patients in the posterior, a little more customization. And the best part is this is free of charge. So we don't have to reuse metal healing abutments or order those from your implant company anymore. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that. So if you have a 3D printer, we provide you an STL file, so you 3D print these. If you don't have a 3D printer, don't worry, we provide these to you in a baggie for you, and they're no charge. You're able to, have more anatomical healing abutments in your chamber, in your surgical area. So you have more customization. They're white, I think, which is an advantage over metal. But then what we're going to show you here is taking a step further and actually in a matter of minutes staining and glazing these. You can see here where the sulcus looks, the way the tissue looks. You can see it almost can pass, yes, for like a rough crown a little bit, but you can see the anatomical profile and shape for them, which I think is an advantage over using metal healing abutments. And then this is also in greater Chicagoland area, Dr. Shivam Patel. This is his case here. If you're on or listening, thank you, my friend, for this documentation here. But you take it a step further. You do a shade here. We're going to extract your tooth. You're going to drill your osteotomy. You're going to select what looks best for you here, selecting from your anatomical healing abutments. And this is what you do. You take it a step further once again, and you put a quick stain and glaze. I think this was a B4. I think the shade guide you had here. And then this is how, what I say, passes for a rough crown. But again, if you're standing close to a patient during the healing phase, they're not going to see metal. They're not going to see white. They're not going to see, they're going to see this almost like a tooth in place, and it's free of charge. So I think this is in my mind, a better product for zero cost. And this is something we provide you, I think, as an added service here with the TRI Matrix implant. Here's the final restoration. This was done on, for $120 with design right to the door. And if you're having a lab bill here of Glidewell of 350, and again, it goes back to my saying here, you guys are for-profit institutions. Let's make you a little more profitable here for your posterior restorations. I mentioned you get to work with this titanium, this bolt screw here. The left here, yes, this is from an MUA standpoint, but these are your versions of your Rosen screws, your desk screws, your PRH, or your Badger screw. There's 100 of those out there now. This is, I think, a big advantageous working with this big robust screw. I think this is incredible here. This is the screw I would probably want in my mouth. It's long, robust. We claim in our studies zero screw loosening. These are torqued in at 35 Newton centimeters versus 15 Newton centimeters, and a tremendous win, I think, for full arches and for single units. I mentioned no limits regulation, so it's amazing how technology is certainly advanced. This would be equivalent of a 70-degree MUA. We know a 70-degree MUA does not exist today on an implant system. It's typically straight 17s, 30s, 45s. But rest assured, we can get it done for you. Milling machines today are very, very different than milling machines 5 years ago. And we can see the way technology evolves all the time, from 3D printing to materials, and certainly milling strategies have changed as well. Show you a quick video here of a live study here that was done showing a weight study. It really was done on a live setting that shows double the thickness or double the weight that any human can bite down.
Crown, which we just have freshly got, and we have packaged tissue level matrix implant, and we have a 2.8 zirconia screw. And then we can go on 35 Newton centimeter. So then I have this cylinder, and I place the implant in the cylinder on this ground. I'm going to add as much weight as least as we tested it in our official test. So that's the first 1.25 kilo, 7.5. This is the next 2.5 kilos, 25 kilos. Right now, we have 80 kilos, the maximum of any human can bite. So how is your bet? What do you think? How much more? 100 more. 150 kilos on one single crown, 165 kilos. Okay, to finish that, I will add all the kilos on it. 177, that's enough. Woo! I think that's amazing.
Quickly here, this is, I think, a fantastic exercise for everyone to do if you haven't, calculated what a case costs in your practice from single unit to full arch. We know certainly that, implant, you probably know what your implant company sells you an implant for, but we know there's much more to procedure than certainly just the dental implant. And this walks you through a nice journey here from everything, what your total case cost is from a single unit on your current implant system today, to a full arch. And that's an important exercise to do, because we know laboratories, charge all different kind of fees, from titanium bases to custom abutments to, a typical total case cost. So this walks you through from design to any different types of products here for you, and certainly let us sharpen our pencil and walk this through with you on a quick little demo. And I think that some of the savings is actually astronomical. We typically, some dentists we have this call with that, their implant price is super, super low, that we're scratching our head on, maybe well under $100. And we end up saving a lot of those customers, sometimes tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars with big clinics, from our full root to tooth solution. So it's worth a demo. Dr. Katami, I know you're on this call right now, my friend. You used to be part of Clear Choice and Cunning Dental, and you pinged me here. You did this exercise, and I think that was big for you. So, and hello to you, my friend. But I highly recommend scan this code right here. It's worth a little 10-minute exercise for you as business owners. And if we could save you a couple $100,000 a year, that's big. Definitely take advantage of us on this. Scan this QR code as well. This is good for a free case on us from a one patient aspect. So if you had a double arch out there from this is again on the prosthetic side of the business, not the implants. But if there's a full double arch out there that maybe a patient said no to you, that's thinking about it and it was price sensitive, and you had maybe you have a lab cost that's maybe $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever the cost is out there. And if I could shave that cost out for you, and you could call that patient back and say, hey, I can discount this for you. Your profit and your profitability doesn't change. Let us take care of that for you. And you get to treat a patient that maybe is not getting treated. Call that a win-win. So let us do that for you. Let us do a case and treat a patient that you normally maybe is pending for you. You may wonder what it takes to get started for us. For under 7K, we tool you up. We don't charge you for surgical kits and pros kits. We give you scan bodies. We give you all the armamentarium. This is 25 implants and 25 screws. It comes with that double all-in-X, or treating one patient. So let us take care of you on that, and see how that goes, how we can take care of you. That is it for my part of the presentation. Here is my contact information. Here's my email, christopher.luter@tri-dental-implants.com, tri-implants.com. That is my cell phone for me. Feel free to shoot me a text, and I can put you in contact with our team, our clinical doctors on staff. If you have Instagram, feel free to follow me here. We can connect over there and add you on as a friend. And I will turn it over to my really good friend, Dr. Azam Saeed. Every time I see you, whether you're virtual or in person, you bring a smile to my face. I wish I could hug you right now.
I appreciate
And
right
thank you. I'll turn it over to you. We're excited to see. We're excited to see you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Luter. All right, let's make sure I can share my screen properly. So I'm click on share, and we'll see if that works. Is that working?
You are up.
Move the camera over so that I'm side. Good. Good. All right. Cool. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dr. Azam Saeed. I think Luter gave me a pretty decent introduction. Mainly focus on full arch, of course, but yes, we do have single implants in our office. How many of them we do, I'm not really sure. It's usually like we're in the middle of an arch, and they'll be like, hey, you need to come out here real quick and quickly slam these 2 implants in. It's like, all right, fine. Step out, put them in, come back. I'm just going to go right to it because I don't want to keep everybody from dinner. It's already 6:30. We're going to hit the button. Okay. So we're going to talk about single immediate load implants, why they're super important. What is it? I'm wondering what everybody's skill set is that's attending this webinar. But for those who have not taken a tooth out and put an implant in right away, that's essentially what an immediate load implant is, right? Patient comes in, there's usually what traditionally people do is they take a tooth out, they bone graft it, they wait a few months, and they come back, then they put the implant in, they wait a few more months, and then they put the restoration on the tooth, on the implant. What a lot of doctors have started doing, because there's great surgical success in it, and it's much easier for the patient, is to extract a tooth and put an implant into the viable bone that is in that socket or around that socket the same day of the extraction, and then allow the osseointegration and the bone healing to take place simultaneously. So you save the patient a few months, and if you utilize the appropriate healing abutment, well, you get a better contour of your soft tissue that'll allow you to put a restoration on there that will mimic the natural tooth that was previously there more closely, right? So that's what an immediate load implant is. Typically, you'll find that it is done. Sorry, that's what an immediate implant is. Immediate load is, instead of putting a healing abutment on, is to put an actual tooth on. You don't anticipate that the patient is going to be functioning on it, though they typically do. But for that reason, you do this in the anterior region, where when they're smiling, it doesn't look like they're missing the front tooth. You don't take that risk as often in the posterior, unless you're doing a bridge or something. But in the front, it's very, very important for you to do, because you're going to help maintain the soft tissue architecture and give the patient something they can smile with. And of course, you know, with the way that everything's going with Instagram, you know, aesthetics and, you know, speed are everything, right? Everybody wants to go to Colombia for a $4,000 smile makeover, right? Rather than going to a doctor locally that does it right? Because they just want it fast. They want it right now, right? Same thing happens when a patient comes in, and yet, you know, they've been ignoring this tooth for years, and then finally it needs to come out, and they're like, okay, well, I want a new tooth now. And it's like, okay, well, all right, let's see what we can do, right? So there's this demand, and you can meet this demand in your practice by having the right tools and having the right training, right? All right, went through some of this before, right? Earlier, reduce number of surgical interventions, right? If everything goes according to plan, if you know how to put an implant appropriately into a socket, then you don't need, sometimes you don't even need to graft. You're able to save the patient months and multiple times in the chair with, you know, shots and blood and all the stuff that patients don't like. And because you're able to do this so quickly, patients are much happier with you, right? And we mentioned the aesthetics are going to be improved. Of course, if you're going to help maintain the soft tissue architecture and you can give the patient a restoration that mimics what they had previously, you're going to have a way better aesthetic outcome. And yes, immediate function, of course, in some cases, when you have the proper amount of stability, yes, you can put something there that the patient can chew on. And that's something that we really research in our own office, our own patient base, and we go to final restorations very, very often, because we believe that we can predictably achieve high level of torque and can confidently give a patient that they can function on without complications. Yes, there are patients that do develop complications, but it's actually at a lesser rate than as if we did not put a final restoration on. So what are some of the things that you need in order to do immediate load with what's called immediate temporary and potentially a final restoration soon after? Number one, you need to have good primary stability. This comes down to your implant design and your surgical technique, right? This is one thing that we try to do for all of our clients at Wolf of Arches and with Full Arch Masters, for example, is we want to teach patients the most optimal surgical treatment, style of treatment, to get primary stability and to give confidence in your treatment choice, right? Favorable bone quality, sometimes that's just something that you can't really predict necessarily. You just have to find the cortical bone, find the hard bone, or utilize the right implant to get that high torque and be able to load it. No active infection. There's multiple times that we will take a tooth out and we will scrape out the granulation tissue, get rid of any of that nasty looking pus, and we're still able to put an implant into the same site. But then, of course, when you have a massive lesion, it's probably not the wisest thing to do. You want to let it recover, let it become bacteria free, let some of that bone come back. Me personally, I'm not a big believer in bone grafting. I like to let nature run its course and utilize native bone whenever I put an implant in. And of course, good occlusal planning. You never want to overload this implant. If you're going to be putting a temporary restoration on, especially in the back, but of course in the front, you want to make sure that the occlusal forces are minimized, right? So you're not getting these lateral intrusive forces on this implant that needs to be undisturbed to have the best, typically have the best osseointegration, best outcome. And patient compliance. I think we all know how this goes, right? I think like last week, or I think I did at least 2 immediate implants in the aesthetic zone, and the patient came back and I'm like, why'd you break your temporary? Or like, what happened? And in fact, one of them was the temporary came off the tie base. Like, oh, it's like I was trying to open something with my teeth and I don't know what went wrong. It's like, well, I know what went wrong. And the other patient was chewing on some like hard candy or something and decided to crunch into it with their tooth that we instructed them not to utilize to crunch into candy with. So why are TRI implants ideal for this? Well, we know the Swiss, they do great things, and the implant design is one of them. It has a very, very nice implant thread design that gives you very, very high torque. Sometimes it's too high of torque. In some of the cases that I did early on, there's a learning curve, right? When you're switching from one implant system to another, or you're trying out some other surgical protocol, sometimes you're like, all right, this is how I do it. Let me try to utilize the same technique. And then you find you're in a little bit of a pickle because now you over torque your implant, and now you can lead to other complications. So it's an implant that gets torqued very, very quickly. And all the TRI implants I've done so far, praise be to God, I've not lost any bone on them. And that's an awesome thing. It's not something that many implant companies can say that they can do. But again, it also comes down to surgical technique. So if you have the right surgical technique and then you have the best design with this polished color, you're going to get that great outcome. Advanced immediate load protocol. This implant was designed for this specific type of case. It was designed for placing subcrestal. It was designed to load as quickly as possible. Proven clinical success rate. This is something that Luder's been showing me that and also a lot of my colleagues, that this is something that works not just on paper, but in other people's offices and my office too. So what are some of the key features, right? Aside from the amazing thread design, that polished color, the fact that it never comes off, right? It will always maintain a seal, right? So those threads of your implants are going to be always protected, because the soft tissue will actually make some sort of connection between that polished color, because it's never going to come off. It's never going to be disturbed. So bacteria is not going to be able to make its way down there. Every time you interact with this implant, it's not going to be at the platform of the implant, because now the platform's 3 millimeters above the threads, right? So you're always going to have great maintenance of the soft tissue of the bone, and you're going to be able to interact with that implant if you ever needed to for maintenance. For example, if you're doing a full arch case, and that is ideal for long-term predictable outcomes. And then, of course, as Luder pointed out, that implant design, the screw design, it's really beefy and it has angle correction. And what I like to say about TRI implants is that it can make a shitty surgeon look great, because when you're doing full arch, and a lot of doctors that don't have a lot of training and don't know how to time an implant appropriately to get that MUA to have the right screw channel, with the TRI implant, because you can correct up to 30 degrees. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of Instagram posts of people posting in their stories, oh, the A-frame, right? Like showing that the screw channels are right exactly where they need to be, in the center of the molar, center of the premolar, in the cingulum of the central or the lateral. Well, you're more likely to get that when you have this freedom of correcting the angle of the screw channel. So I love that about this implant. All right, and one thing I can say that I really like about TRI is that they created this system that makes it really quick and easy to get the patient a final or a temporary tooth right away, like within an hour. And it's not a system that can't be done with other implant companies, or it's not something that's revolutionary that other people haven't done before. But the fact that they created a very simplified version of this workflow, and they give you the support, right? You can call up your TRI right away, and you'll get the designer getting your provisional crown or your full arch ready to go with a very, very quick turnaround time. And that's very, very important if you want to give your patients the highest level of satisfaction. When during our growth, like, these are some of the things that we think about. It's not just about how we can save the most amount of money. Let's find the cheapest implant. It's also about how to give the patient the least amount of visits in the chair. It's also about making them the happiest in the shortest amount of time possible. These are the type of things that if you work out these kinks, you'll find that your practice starts to grow more rapidly, because patients are like, man, I went to this office, they knocked out my tooth, gave me a temp in like an hour and a half. I love it. You should go check them out. If you ever get in a bar fight and get that tooth punched out, these are your guys, right? So these are the things that I really like. This flow that he mentioned with all the little icons next to his head, right? That help you submit the design, get the design back, get it printed or milled in your office really quickly and delivered. or get using the healing abutments that they have in that little packet. It reminds me of, you know, building cars, like model cars or Gundam Wing. I don't know if any of you guys know anything about that, but it's exactly what it looks like. You just pop it off and you have yourself an anatomically designed healing abutment. Very, very easy and very convenient. Okay, so let's just jump straight into a case, right? So that's what it comes down to. Everyone understands what an immediate load implant is, what an immediate provisional is. Well, I'm going to show you something that Ryan Dunlop did out of Fresno, California. He's also the owner of Full Arch Masters. I do teach for Full Arch Masters. In October, we're doing a surgical training course. If anybody wants to have some hands-on experience doing introduction to Full Arch or advanced surgery, where we're going to be teaching zygomatic implants on some cases and pterygoid implants on every case, do look that up. And I'm going to get into what we do at Wolf of Arches as well by the time I finish this presentation. So patient came to Dunlop, Dr. Dunlop, had some beautiful crowns. Actually that number 9 is an implant. And I don't know what he did, probably bit into something at a birthday party and his tooth fractured off at the gum line. Dr. D decided the best thing to do is to extract that mofo. All right, so extracted it, used TRI's drilling protocol to achieve the highest level of torque. Put that implant in there, right? Use a scan body provided by TRI to scan this. Printed a temporary the same day. They were able to deliver it right away. And from my understanding is that the patient received their final crown just shortly after. And I mean, within a month, right? So look at that soft tissue. And I think that's one of the greatest things about the system is that you get this maintenance of the soft tissue that was previously there. You get this, especially if you're using like a zirconia temporary, which we do quite often, you get this tissue response, which is unlike anything else. Now, I don't mean to oversimplify to the point where, hey, you never need to get a soft tissue graft. Sometimes those type of things are going to help your case be more aesthetic, depending on the patient's tissue type, depending on the circumstances of the bone, depending on what happens to the bone after the extraction. But it will help convert a lot more of the cases that were iffy to good outcomes because you're using this immediate temporary crown to help maintain that soft tissue. So when you look at this patient's smile, which again, it's a very, very easy system to learn, easy crown to deliver, hit the final restoration is perfect. And this guy's going to be back on the streets, back to those birthday parties, biting chicken off the bone or corn on the cob within no time, right? So this is the type of outcome that we want to have predictably for all of our patients. This is something that if you don't already do in your office with the right training, with the right partnered company and the right printer and the right mill, you can do this for many people, many of your patients. So to summarize, immediate load implants offer functional and aesthetic benefits that are going to give you way better long-term aesthetic results as compared to the previous style of extracting, placing a temporary abutment and waiting while the patient is missing their front tooth for the implant to integrate and then putting a crown on. The TRI process, as I mentioned, is phenomenal and it is simplified to make it easy for beginners who have the right surgical training to get awesome long-term results, aesthetic results. And it's a great option for the right patient with the right tools. You have the tools in front of you. Full Arch Masters, Wolf of Arches will help provide the surgical training that you need to get those results. And I guess I'll give you guys now I'll take the chance to talk to you guys about Wolf of Arches. For those of you guys that are in here that are growing your implant education, that are growing your implant practice, that want to get into full arch, what Wolf of Arches offers is surgical training to help you guys learn the proper technique to get long-term predictable outcomes with your implant placement. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't talk about, right? People will watch, look at these cases that everyone's posting on Instagram, but they're not thinking about, oh, wait, actually, what is the best depth to put your implant in? What is the best protocol for loading your implants right away? What is the most appropriate torque you should have? What is remote anchorage and why does it benefit my cases? So at Wolf of Arches, we want to provide all doctors everywhere that type of training so that we can give our patients all over America the best clinical outcome. Along with that, with the growth of your practice, you're going to find that you need to do things efficiently to grow quickly and to grow strongly, right? So one of the problems that a lot of people have is they dump all this money into marketing, but their team, they're so busy running this robust practice that they have, they're not able to handle their leads properly. So it's one of the issues that we saw that a lot of our colleagues had. So we created a call center that'll help handle the leads for your office. Then we also offer team training, which is paramount. There's a lot of times doctors come to our office and they say, "Hey, doc, can I come alone? I want to see how your system runs." I'm like, "You can come alone, but I don't know how beneficial it's going to be for you." Because what happens is they come, they learn, they get inspired, they feel charged, they go back home, they try to talk to their team, and they're like, "Guys, we're going to do this from now on." And their team's like, yeah, no, we like it the way we are. And they don't ever grow. They don't ever change. They keep doing the most redundant, terrible things that are wasting the doctor's resources. So we offer team training where you bring your closers, you bring your front desk, you bring your office manager, your surgical assistants, your lab techs. And what we do is we show them the best way, one of the best ways to close a case, the best way to assist the doctor, the best way to produce aesthetic restorations or temporaries in your laboratory, the best way to talk to your patients and help them understand the benefit of signing up for this treatment in your office. These are things that we want to make sure everyone has from A to Z so that they can have the best growth in their office. With that, I think I've covered everything there is that I could say about single implant restorations using TRI implants. If anybody has any questions, now's the time. Because like I said, I don't want to keep anybody from dinner.
Yeah, please feel free to go into the chat box and we'll see it. We will see it pop up and certainly answer those questions for you.
Dr. Smoller, nothing silly, okay? I know what you're all about.
And Dr. Saeed, also for you, you build a scratch practice, from the ground up. That so you've trained, you've scaled a practice that consistently does 75 to 100 arches per month. You build a marketing machine around your practice.
Yeah,
Certainly.
and people need to understand. Like everyone always says, like, "Oh my God, I want to do that many arches in my office." Well, they don't understand the infrastructure that goes behind it, right? The
Yeah.
team that is needed. Like you kept talking about Hugo. Yes, Hugo's an integral part of the team, but he's just one gear, right? Let's talk about my manager Emma, the mastermind behind it all, who leads everyone. Let's talk about Visa, Michelle, Renee. Let's talk about Mari. All these people, and the list goes on and on and on for 64 people that all help make this process a well-oiled machine, right? This is something that people have to have if they want to achieve those numbers, right? And every time, there's waves, right? It goes up and down. Some months are good, some months are bad. Things happen in the news and people are a little bit more afraid to spend or banks are a little tighter on financing. Those are the times when people need to look into their own practices, look at their own processes and find ways to become more efficient. Because we went through that so many times, there's so many seasons of that, we have this knowledge base that we want to give to our clients at Wolf of Arches and help them not go through those struggles, but also train them that if those times come, sit down with your team and find different ways to become efficient.
Yes. We do have one question that just came up. This seems like this is probably more for me. Maybe this has been your ask as well, Dr. Saeed, because I believe you do this on every single maxilla arch. Is TRI going to have remote anchorage options? The answer is yes. We actually have those right now on very limited release with our new implant line.
I'm going to be trying them next week, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Yes, I did place that order for you after speaking to you earlier this week. But yes, we do have 18, 20, 22, 24 millimeter remote anchorage options, which is fantastic. That is an addition to our portfolio, which is much needed, as we know, through the All on X game. So that was from an anonymous attendee. So yes, the answer is yes. Feel free to reach out to us. we will be having, again, it is a very, very soft launch for that product, but we do have some for those select cases.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm looking forward to utilizing it, man.
Yeah.
Especially because this is one of the things that people don't think about, but when you have your own lab, you need to make sure all of your what is it called? The top of all of your implants fit into a puck. And if it doesn't fit into a puck, you're going to have to outsource the milling of that restoration. And everything you did to save cost, now suddenly it just tripled in price because they got to use a special puck. So with the angle correction you get with the TRI implant, you're able to change the angulation of those implants that are all the way in the back and make sure the screw channels end up in the puck that fits in your mill. And that's a very big advantage that a lot of people don't consider until they get to the point where they're milling arches every day in their office.
Yes, very, very, very well said. I did see one that was answered, and that's why I did hear that Bruce Smoller is on this webinar. Welcome, Bruce. Good to see a familiar face, and certainly you are a past presenter of one of our webinars. Feel free to let anything rip. We know there's no filter there, so we'll certainly take care of you. Any other questions here for Dr. Saeed, please? Yes, we have another anonymous attendee. Hello, Mr. Anonymous. Is it true that there is a chance of micro cracks around the milled connection?
Not that I've seen. And that can happen with any pour design. Like if that's more of a fabrication issue and a pour design issue. Like, we've seen it in our own office, right? It's called growing pains, right? You're going to see sometimes that if you utilize, the wrong milling protocol or the wrong sintering protocol, you're going to end up having a zirconia that is more likely to have fractures. The restorations that we've made with our TRI implants and our full arch cases, we haven't had any issues, right? So of course you need to follow the rules, right? Try to stay within the confines of what's considered, the protocol, right? You don't want to over torque those screws because then you're going to add too much stress. We try to always go a little bit over whatever the recommended torque is, but thus far we haven't had any issues with them.
Okay. I am getting one text saying that the chat is disabled, but I see the chat opening, so I'm not quite sure how to address that.
Yeah, actually it is closed. It's kind of weird.
But they're coming in because Bruce said something and we had a couple others, which is strange.
Well, you can just text Looter if you have a question.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can certainly text me right now at 480-665-6326. If there is a chat disabled, and I will certainly, here we go. There's a couple more coming in right now.
All right.
Oh, the
I'm
Q&A,
gonna
the
answer this
chat's
first one.
disabled, but the Q&A is open. So maybe go to Q&A, is what I'm seeing
What
here.
time is happy hour for Hugo?
Yeah.
Happy hour is when you're done designing for everything that you have in your docket. All right. So get back to work.
Don't worry, Hugo. There's some 1942 on its way. So the chat is open, right? I'm sorry, the Q&A is open right now, not the chat. So if anybody else has a Q&A, or if you just sent me a text, I can address that right now for you.
We got one for you over here. How much is the implant and how much is the screw?
The Q&A tab works. Okay, here we go. How much is the implant and screw? That is a loaded question. We like to say that we are probably the best price root to tooth in the entire US. We actually converted a customer that was getting an Israeli clone for $25, and we saved that clinician money. Granted, that clinician did not have their own mill, but from a root to tooth solution, please schedule a demo with us, and we would love to win your business. And make it certainly advantageous for you to save money. We understand that it is important to save money. We are a Swiss implant, but we're certainly not we are definitely not a Israeli, clone implant, but I like to feel those that we can make it profitable for you to use our system, if that makes sense. We have one from Rob Jung. He says, "Hi Azam, Rob here from the UK. For your full arch cases, what's the max angulation the mill can handle with TRI and zirconia?"
I couldn't answer that, to be honest. I focus on the surgical side. I pay for all the lab equipment, but I don't actually run it myself. So I apologize. I couldn't answer that. Luder, I'm sure you could, chime in on this in
Sure.
regards to what the maximum angulation is. And if there's a specific milling protocol. One thing I will say is that we did need to get our mills certified by the TRI team to be able to handle the protocol needed to do the screw channels for these really high angulation cases.
Yes, I can answer that for you actually. You have an Amos I-core, if memory serves me right, correct?
Me? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I believe you use Hyperdent. So your nesting software and your mills are calibrated to go up to 45 degrees on the current setup you have. You use Hyperdent with Amos I-core. They can be mill up to 45 degrees access. We have our milling center in Orange County, California, Hyperdent with VersaMill with manipulated milling strategies, keep in mind, that can go up to 70 degrees access. So all mills are not created equal. I do know there's zircon-ons, there's Rollins, there's all different kind of mills, and even with some manipulation with the strategies in our team, we would love to Rob, we'd love to evaluate that for you. We have a team in the UK and we can get you taken care of. Feel free to send me an email. I can connect you with our European team and we'll dial you in. We have another text here from, hopefully I'm saying your name correct. Apologize if I'm not. Vivek Solanki.
Luder, that's the doc that I'm working with.
Oh,
Yeah.
right on.
Yeah. You gotta meet. Wait till you meet Dr. Vivek, dude. He'll blow you.
All right, man. I heard a lot about you yeah, a second ago. The answer is yes. We have a rep in Florida for you, and we'll make sure you're taken care of. We also have a stellar Eastern area sales director, Mr. Corey Cabot, and we'll get you VIP service. Not to worry there. We have another question here, a couple more here. David Urbanik. I know that name. In the industry. Are there plans for custom subperiosteal implants by TRI? Ironically, we just did a subperiosteal course last week in Mesa, Arizona with actually Ryan Dunlop. And there was a live surgery in a maxilla and there was a sub case done. I don't believe we have any plans for us to manufacture custom product subperiosteal implants. But we know there was just a course training on that. There was doctors all over the U.S. That we just trained last weekend. So it seems to me there's a growing need, Dr. Saeed, for that treatment plan when all else fails, right?
It's one of these things that it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it really isn't. Even like zygos and pterygoids, it's not for everyone. Full arch isn't for everyone. Dude, my son keeps calling me like, dude, hold on. I gotta see what's up. Yo, is everything okay? Yeah, go to the park. Assalamu alaikum. I gotta go. I'm not done with my webinar. I'll talk to you, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. When my son calls 3 times, I'm like, okay, something wrong. I gotta check. More important than the webinar. Okay. The thing is, it's all about training, right? It's all about understanding what you're doing to someone, what is needed to get the best surgical and clinical long-term outcome. Okay. It's not wise to try to take on cases because you're shooting from the hip and you like the way that dollar amount sounds. You're going to end up hurting people and unfortunately hurting yourself and everyone in your practice, right? Subperiosteals is like a different level above zygos and pterygoids, which is why a lot of the doctors around the country that are very, very proficient in in zygos and pterygoids have not even touched subperiosteals yet, because it requires a certain understanding of soft tissue and the way it interacts with titanium, understanding getting the stability through these small screws that stabilize the whole system, right? You will find that there is training out there available for it, but it's very limited. And it's not something I would say that I recommend to anyone that hasn't already done, at least 10,000 arches. That's literally what I'm going to say. I know that sounds like a ridiculous number, but one thing that I'll tell you is that the more arches you do, the more you realize you have so much more to learn, right? Like, I remember somebody posted this question, a poll on Instagram in their story, and it was like, how many implants did you do before you realized you knew what you were doing? And it said 100, 200, 300, 500. And I was like, man, I remember 10 years ago, after 100 implants, I was like, man, I know exactly what I'm doing. I got this. I can handle anything. But then after 1,000 implants is when I realized, dude, I have so much more to learn, and I have to be way more cautious about what I'm doing. Right. So the more you do, the more you realize that you got to step back and take it easy. Right. Like, get more training. Like, every month I travel with my manager, with Hugo, with my staff. We get training almost every month, and we're also teaching almost every month. Right. Why? Because you can never stop learning. Right. And it's not just learning directly from a lecture, it's learning from your colleagues. When you develop these relationships with other people that are trying to do the same thing that you are, right? Grow their practice, be proficient surgeons, you'll learn small things that you'll never hear in lecture from people from all over the country and sometimes all over the world, right? So anybody talking about getting into custom subperiosteals, maybe TRI will do it, maybe another company will do it, who knows? But never stop learning, never stop trying to give your patients the best treatment that they can receive, right? And one day, you'll get there. One day you'll just choose not to. Who knows?
Thank you
Cool.
for that response. We have one more question here. It says, do we have to use your lab, or can my designer design it and send it to my sprint ray? The answer is yes. This is definitely an open system. If you'd like to be able to design on the TRI matrix, we simply send you a CAD certification to get. It takes about, I think, maybe an hour and a half. And then you're able to have your designer design from single unit to full arch to then export to your Sprint Ray printer, which is fantastic. So the answer is yes. You can everything is open system here with TRI, and we are certainly big supporters of Sprint Ray. We sell it as well, and yeah, it's a great workflow. Any other questions popping in right now?
I think everyone wants to go to lunch or dinner. I mean, my kids want to go to the park, so I should probably go find them.
Well, thank you very much. If there's no other questions, or maybe if you want to privately message Dr. Saeed, that is his Instagram right there. I'm assuming if they needed to call your office or maybe wanted to talk to you one-on-one, they could go to acedentalcenter.com, certainly be trained by you, Dr. Saeed, and contact you that way as well, and certainly see your incredible operation you built. I think everybody has my information, christopher.luter@tri-implants.com. We appreciate everyone for attending tonight's webinar. Dr. Saeed, again, wish I could give you a hug here in person. Thank you for being a friend, a mentor, and a mentor to many, and being a part of tonight's webinar.
Thank you, bro. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. It means the world to me that you always extend this kindness and hospitality to me. Thank you, Luter, for being a good person.
Absolutely, my friend. Thank you so much, everyone. This concludes tonight's webinar, and we'll send the recording out for those of you who maybe came in late or missed it. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.